Welcome to Jobbed Out, the wrestling editorial that reminds you that some people always tell the truth, even when they lie. Is it Hulk Hogan's birthday already? It's become a regular tradition over here to pay homage to undeniably the biggest name in the history of our sport, Hulk Hogan. This man was the face of pro wrestling in the 80s, and his heel run in the mid-90s was exactly the rebound his career needed. He's won world titles, he's sold out arenas, he's accomplished more things than any of us could ever dream to. So why does he have to lie so damn much? You're supposed to pad your resume when you're underqualified, not when you're overqualified. So I've spoken at great length twice before about the Hulkster's many false claims over his career, and unfortunately, there is enough to make this Jobbed Out's holy trilogy. But before I do have to state something first. Last year, a Twitter list had come out trying to chronicle all of Hogan's wildest claims, and this thing has made my job so much harder. Because the guy, Alan, opted not to source a lot of his posts, there's a lot of stuff that, if you try to dive in and find a citation, it only takes you right back to the tweet. Now, I'm still going to avoid any unsourceable rumors here, and I do still have a top 5 list for you, so put on your limited time only Hogan hater hat from the Jobbed Out merch store and grab a bowl of Hulkaroni and cheese. It's time, for the third time, to look at Freaks 5 times Hulk Hogan was a lying piece of trash. Number 5. Hogan for President. This one's gonna be really low on my list for the simple reason that you can just shrug it off as a publicity stunt, but let's be real, publicity stunts are still lies at their very core. The short version of the story is after his disastrous match against the Ultimate Warrior, you know the one.
I couldn't get the lighter lit, and all of a sudden the lighter lit, the flash paper blew up in my face, burned all the hair off my mustache and all my eyebrows and eyelids.
Hogan's future as a pro wrestler was beginning to come into doubt. It would be the Thanksgiving episode of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno where Hogan would officially announce a double whammy. He was done as a professional wrestler, and he was putting his name in the running for President of the United States.
And this really helps me segue into being the next President of the United States.
He even had a platform, kinda. Unfortunately, that episode has been a total bitch to find, so shout out to my buddy at Dive In Canada for finding the video clips that you're seeing now. But I do also have this nifty trading card to commemorate the occasion. Now, if you're wondering what the whole point of the publicity stunt was, it was so he could come back to WCW TV as a surprise 6 weeks later and finger poke his way into another championship. Number 4. Hulk Hogan could have been Conor McLeod. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Hogan, in response to somebody on Twitter, claimed that he was sent a script to a major film, offered a lead role, but turned it down because he felt he didn't deserve it. No, I'm not talking about Randy the Ram and the Wrestler, I'm talking about Conor McLeod and Highlander. Yeah, I'm serious. Remember, Highlander was released right before WrestleMania 2, which means it would have been filmed in 1985 as Hulkamania was hitting its stride. But you know what? If he had claimed that he was offered the role of the Kurgan, I could have given him the benefit of the doubt. Seriously, this guy, as a soft-spoken Scottish farmer, he hasn't just lost his mind, Hogan's lost his whole head. Number 3. The Hulk Hogan Grill. This feels like a bit of a softball based on how many times we've all heard it, but there's actually a couple things to clear up. There had been many claims over the years that the George Foreman grill was originally offered to Hulk Hogan. Hogan was offered 3 products over the phone to endorse: a meatball press, a blender, and a countertop grill. In one version of the story, Hogan turned down the grill personally. In another, he blames his wife at the time for talking him out of it. Well, the first, unfortunately, has no source, and the second I myself managed to debunk after watching way too much Hogan Knows Best.
The Hulk Hogan Thunder Mixer, my agent who said, I've got something for you and George Foreman. I've got a grill and I've got a blender.
I know.
George picked a grill. I get stuck with this. And that's why every time you bring up doing something other than wrestling, I think of the Thunder Mixer that I got boned on.
The claim wasn't that the Thunder Blender reminded Hogan that Linda had talked him out of the grill, but rather the Thunder Blender reminds Hogan of Linda trying to talk him out of wrestling. I know, it didn't make sense when it aired either. Hogan has himself gone out to address the George Foreman grill story.
You did pass on the George Foreman grill.
Oh, stop.
That's what they
Will
told
you stop?
me.
That's not true. Do you believe everything you read, brother? Got my kids home. They were excited because I finally got there early. And when I got home, I pressed the old school recorder machine.
Yeah.
Hey, Hulk, this is Sam Perlmutter. I got a couple things. I've got a grill and I've got a blender. and I'm going to call you and George to see who wants it. Well, I wasn't there to answer the call, so when I called Sam back, I said, hey, Sam, what's up with all that stuff, man? I'll take the grill. He goes, well, I called George, and George took the grill.
Now I can hear my detractors in the comments right now typing, see, you just proved what Hogan said was true. And you'd be very nearly right, if not for the fact that the creator of the grill, Michael Boehm, has actually stated publicly that the grill's original spokesperson was always Foreman, because Foreman famously would eat 2 burgers before every boxing fight. Obviously, there's no similar story that would have applied to Hogan. But hey, he did eventually get his own ultimate grill, and despite the thing being massive, it actually looked pretty cool, if you ignored the whole recalled for catching fire thing. Number 2. Hulk Hogan, Little League Hero. Teeny little Terry Bollea wasn't much of an athlete growing up, but one of his claims, thanks to his own autobiography, was that he held a Little League World Series record with an unheard of .714 batting average as a kid. WrestleCrap was 100% right to point out that Hogan was lying, because Hogan told this story at a time when he didn't think the Little League World Series would publicly make available every kid who's ever participated. Guess which name's missing? Now before I get to number 1, it is honorable mentions time, and I thought it would be a nice change of pace to actually debunk or dispel a couple of these lies attributed with Hogan. Hell's frozen over, folks, I'm gonna defend the boy. Let's get back to baseball. While the story is that Hogan was an all-state level pitcher in high school before breaking his arm, playing third base for some reason, Hogan was actually certain to make a claim that couldn't be verified, so you know what? It has to get a pass. Ditto a pass for the idea that he was on a flight with Kerry Von Erich to Japan 3 days before Von Erich committed suicide. While there's no record of either of these guys flying to or performing in Japan during Kerry's final days, there's also no record of Hogan actually saying this. How can I call Hogan a liar if there's no proof he actually said it? Because he stopped late-night host David Letterman from hitting on his wife, Hogan was banned from The Letterman Show. The tweet claims that Hogan has appeared on Letterman many times. I'm chalking this one up to human error, cause Hogan's never been on Letterman. He was on Jay Leno's show quite a few times though. But that's how dangerous spreading unsourced information can be. It's been a year and Alan still hasn't had a reason to retract this tweet, so more people are beginning to remember it as true. There. Can people who keep insisting I'm a Hogan hater take it down a notch for a little bit now? Alright, so with all that said and done, what is my number 1 time Hulk Hogan was a lying piece of trash for the 3rd time? Number 1. Andre. Just Andre. Oh god, where do I begin? It's undeniable that one of the literal largest moments of Hogan's career was his match against Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3. It was the defining moment that he became an absolute icon. 93,000 people packing the Silverdome, even though the number was closer to 77,000. That one's not on Hogan. The stuff Hulk conveniently does misremember though, there are a few doozies. So Hogan claims in his book that Andre weighed 600 pounds, and later over 700 pounds.
His weight varied, you know, it'd be like you gaining 20 or 30 pounds, Andre gaining 100, it's no big deal, but...
Wrestlers pad heights and weights all the time, so what can you do? He does claim that he tore both his biceps and 18 muscles in his back from picking Andre up, but he didn't miss a single date afterwards. Hogan also tried to claim that this was the first time Andre had ever been slammed, so enjoy this compilation of other wrestlers slamming Andre the Giant before WrestleMania 3. Hell, Hogan slammed Andre 7 years earlier at Shea Stadium. The man also claimed he didn't know until the finish of the match if Andre was gonna put him over, which sorta defeats the purpose of WrestleMania. Can you imagine Andre going into business for himself and ending the main event differently? The real big lie though, this one comes from the idea that the sheer magnitude of Hogan slamming Andre resulted in Andre passing away a few days later.
I wrestled Andre the Giant with these boots on, and then a couple days later he passed on.
Now just to be clear, Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan had 10 more matches together between WrestleMania 3 and Andre's passing a few days later. The number of those days, by the way, was just shy of 6 years. This, just like so many other cases, is just an example of Hogan doing something incredible that changed an entire industry and then letting his mouth keep on talking until things that never happened get spewed. Why would you so casually throw in something like that in the first place? Maybe he really wanted to convey this idea that Andre was doing the honors for Hogan, even though Andre would actually beat Hogan for the WWF title the next year, which led to WrestleMania 4's tournament. Maybe Hogan's memory just is really that bad. Hulk Hogan retelling the Montreal Screwjob.
All the fans were yelling, "Brett screwed Brett." Brett told Vince McMahon, "I'm not losing to Shawn Michaels in Canada." And they went out there and Shawn Michaels pulled a fast one on Bret Hart and held him down and pinned him, and Brett couldn't do anything about it.
Whatever the reason, and I know my comment section always hates when I bring this up, just because a lot of people liked a guy doesn't mean you shouldn't call out a liar for lying. Because if you don't, people believe those lies to be true until those lies replace the truth and invalidate all the actual things that did happen. And I do want to ask you, what do you think about the many, 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 many lies of Hulk Hogan? Which have stood out to you as the most egregious over the years, and which ones are the most forgivable? Let me know in the comment section, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more, because I want you to be a part of this conversation too. For now though, I better get my shoulders off the mat, brother! So thank you for tuning in to Jobbed Out. I'll catch you next time.